Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. This is Carla. Can I help you?
Carla, I don't know if it's good information, bad information. Who do I talk to about this, the girl that's missing from Hilbert?
Hang on, I'm going to transfer out to the ship commander. You'll be speaking with Sergeant Singh Laub, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, this is Teresa with Auto Trader Magazine. I'm a photographer, and I'm just giving a call to let you know that I could come out there today in the afternoon. It would probably be around 2 o'clock or even a little later. If you could please give me a call back and let me know if that'll work for you, because I don't have your address or anything, so I can't stop by without getting a call back from you.
We're hanging up posters. My sister, she's been missing. My hope is I give someone a poster and they say, you know, I saw her at this time on Monday. Hey, I saw her on Tuesday, you know, and all of a sudden we come across, I think I saw her on Wednesday, and all of a sudden it brings us up to today where someone saw her.
Interestingly, one of the last people known to have seen Halbach was Steven Avery, the Manitowoc County man who spent nearly 2 decades in prison for a rape he did not commit.
Did you have anything to do with Teresa's disappearance?
No. I would never do nothing like that. You know, to harm anybody or take somebody away from their family.
She called this number on Monday morning just before noon. And Barb wasn't home though, huh?
No, she was at work.
Bobby would have been home, right?
Yeah.
You know Scott Adage?
Yeah. Do you know where Bobby is right now?
Bobby here yet?
Yeah.
Okay. He's on his way. Black truck? Black truck.
He was supposed to show up at a party, and he's not there for at least a couple of hours. When he shows up, he freaks out the other people at the party, which they've told other folks. And that at that point, you know, you've got somebody who's missing at the time, acting erratically. If he was involved, which we don't know, but if he was involved, and he told anybody anything or insinuated something to somebody, we're hoping by publicizing it via the podcast, via the media, that those people who maybe have just a little piece of information can come forward.
Significant evidence has been discovered over the past 24 hours at the Avery Salvation.
After about a week of searching for Teresa Halbach, investigators found evidence they call human in nature on the Avery family property in Larrabee.
Do you think she's dead?
At this time, I can't answer. We don't know.
Now, they have not said yet if those remains are that of 25-year-old Teresa Halbach, but the Calumet County Sheriff will say Halbach's disappearance is now a homicide investigation.
Evidence has been collected that, again, is being analyzed by the State Crime Lab, and I feel that the State Crime Lab will be able to provide us with that information relatively soon.
The evidence is being analyzed at the State Crime Lab, with results expected as soon as tomorrow.
Forensic scientists from the State Crime Lab will not comment on the Avery case while they process evidence for it, but they will tell us the burned remains, such as those in this case, would be very difficult to examine for DNA.
Why isn't there anything in Laurie's case? Why is it just a blank slate, you know? It's like, what happened?
People like Laurie Depies and other people that have disappeared, I would continue to search his property in case, if this is the heart of this man, he was capable of committing other murders.
Jerry Pagel is still waiting for the crime lab to tell him if the remains found last week are Teresa Halbach. Pagel says he'll be stunned if it's anyone else.
Prosecutors and police are still waiting for test results on the charred remains of a woman, bits of bone and teeth found at the Avery family's salvage yard in Manitowoc County. If suspicions are correct, it's all that's left of 25-year-old photographer Teresa Halbach.
But again, I want to emphasize that the investigation revolves around one victim in this case, and that's Teresa Halbach.
The bones are being sent to the FBI for possible DNA analysis. If there is no DNA match, it will raise new questions in the case.
With our detective meetings, we've discussed different possibilities, but again, we really can't go any place with it until the testing is done on them.
Initial DNA tests done at the state crime lab were inconclusive, so the remains were sent to the FBI, which has more sophisticated DNA testing equipment.
When bone is burnt, it takes on a different characteristic and a different color.
The FBI was asked to look at the remains after the state crime lab's results came back inconclusive.
We had people who investigated arsons, who investigated these type of things, who were out there.
It looked like somebody had taken a big shovel from a bobcat or a front end loader and scooped out dirt and removed it and dumped it elsewhere.
And they says, hey, we've got something here. This looks like bone. We were lucky to have those individuals out there.
There were many fragments of human bones, some as small or smaller than the size of a nickel, other fragments perhaps as long as 4 or 5 inches.
Experts went on to say there's slim to no chance that the charred remains found on the Avery property could belong to anyone other than Halbach.
A state agent who took custody of Steven Avery's burn pit when bone fragments were found 3 days after the search of the Avery property started. Special Agent Tom Sturdivant said a Manitowoc County deputy discovered bone fragments in and around the pit. Sturdivant said that he called the crime lab in to help sift through the pit. Sturdivant said that he also found a piece of a zipper marked YKK, a shovel, and a screwdriver.
It appeared to be subjected to intense heat.
But one thing heat didn't destroy was this rivet from a brand of jeans Halbach's younger sister Katie testified her sister owned.
Backus says the bones in the burn pile were severely charred, but Dr. Eisenberg has an excellent reputation, and it's seen as somewhat unlikely that her analysis was wrong.
The information we have on Dr. Eisenberg is that she's very reliable and did kind of throw us for a loop, did raise a couple questions.
Dr. Leslie Eisenberg said nearly every bone in the skeleton was present, and the bones were those of an adult female younger than 30.
Also testifying, Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation Special Agent Ron Pevito. Rod Pevito said that he found bone fragments snared in what was left of steel belts of tires in Steven Avery's burn pit. Pevito said tires are a good source of energy and can be used as an accelerant. Under cross-examination, Pevito said he could not determine, though, when those bones were burned.
You know, you have to understand that because of the way these bones are recovered, things just come in a plastic box with no way to discern what was found where in relation to anything else.
There is some evidence for dispersal.
They're right up there at the top of the list as far as the worst I've seen.
That's how forensic dentist Dr. Donald Simley described tooth fragments he examined. Simley said he superglued parts of a tooth together. He compared it with Teresa Halbach's dental records.
Steven Avery's brother-in-law also took the stand today. Scott Toddick testified that he saw Steven Avery standing behind by the bonfire behind the garage on Halloween night of 2005. Avery's attorneys have said in prior court filings that they believe Tadek had the opportunity to kill Halbach. Judge Willis did not allow them to accuse Tadek.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Steven Avery, guilty.
Steven Avery directly talks about Bobby Dassey, Earl Avery, and Chuck Avery. Bobby Dassey, the evidence goes to him. Earl Avery and Chuck Avery helped Bobby Dassey cover up the crime. And then you have Earl and Chuck Avery crushing Bobby Dassey's Blazer.
And he was capable of committing other murders.
Already one of the most notorious crimes in area history, another mystery surrounding the Christine Rudy murder investigation has investigators perplexed. According to court documents, they found a burn pile they believe Sean used to destroy evidence of the crime. In that burn pile, they found what a well-respected forensic anthropologist determined were fetal remains. Investigators were surprised when what's believed to be Christine Rudy's body was found last month in the Chippewa River. The fetus was still intact.
New details tonight in the gruesome murder of a woman whose body was found partially burned in a fire pit. We do need to warn you, some of the specifics of this case are pretty graphic.
Neighbors complained to the fire department because someone had a big fire going in the home's burn pit out back. It's there in front of a detached garage where we saw investigators with our drone today.
Teresa Halbach, who went to work on Halloween and never came home. Her charred remains were found smoldering in this auto salvage yard.
At first, deputies only found a partial skull and 3 fingers sticking out of the still smoldering pit.
But you would imagine that.
Yeah.
Especially with bones.
Yeah.
And I didn't have no fire there all week. Last time I had it was a week.
I only remember Monday night.
Huh?
I only remember that Monday night.
Not no Monday night.
Yeah, I think you did.
Huh?
Yeah, I think you did. Because when we came home at 8 o'clock, you were standing outside by the fire.
Then Brendan was one day.
It could be, I don't know.
I thought that was during the week before that. I don't know. And now you got me puzzled.
There's no way she was burned on the property. She had to be burned somewhere else, and where was that and how? The murder did not happen the way that the prosecution claims it happened in season 1. There's absolutely no way that the way they said it happened is what happened. And so they need to go back and say, well, if it is Steven Avery, how did he do it then? Because in my mind, there's no way she was murdered on the property. No way. She had to have been murdered somewhere else. And where was that? So those are things that I am certain of.
So aside from that...
Also, Bobby has a bunch of really, really disturbing porn on his computer, like snuff film type things, and like images that almost look like dead bodies to me. So like that's really suspicious.
Her body was mutilated, as were many of the female subjects in the Dassey computer images. They're talking about the images that were found on Bobby Dassey's computer.
Of course, it was on these photographs that they had of the crime scenes, which were very, very, very real and very frightening. I mean, they were very disturbing. There's no other way of putting it.
Barbara tried to delete material from her computer. So according to Zelena, Barbara's stepson, Brad A. Dassey, says Barb hired someone to reformat her computer for her. Brad A. Dassey then goes on to say that this reformatting occurred shortly before authorities seized the computer.
Just tell her, look what happened. Fassbender in this case used to work investigating internet crimes against children, and he still suppressed the evidence of internet crimes against children on the Dassey computer. And then look what happened at the DOJ a couple years ago. They absolutely know.
You talk to anybody about this online?
A rare announcement from the state's top cop. He says the Department of Justice agents failed to follow up on tips about child pornography suspects.
You know what else I heard? They took pictures of her.
A Justice Department spokeswoman tells 12 News the fired employees were a supervisor and a special agent.
Did you take the pictures? No. Do you take pictures? No. Do you tell somebody you took pictures?
And quote, aggressive efforts are underway to address identified cases that may have been impacted by a lack of attention to duty. 12 News did contact the Attorney General today. He declined to talk on camera.
On count 2, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Steven A. Avery, not guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in the second count of the information.
Well, I've read the case files, have you? Everything you need to find him is right there in those pages. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man?